The fancy lakeside mansion was buzzing with laughter as I walked in with Amanda, my wife of 4 years. Her family reunions always made me anxious, but this time felt different. I had recently missed a promotion, and Walter, my father-in-law, had that look in his eyes that screamed disappointment. Despite being an outsider in this wealthy clan, I kept smiling, hoping Amanda would have my back. That hope shattered when her father made a cutting remark about my career. The argument exploded, and suddenly, everyone, including my wife, turned against me. Before I tell you how my life fell apart that night, let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like button and subscribe if you have ever been betrayed by the one person who promised to stand by you. I grew up in a middle-class neighborhood in Ohio, the first in my family to graduate college. My parents worked multiple jobs to give me opportunities they never had. I was proud of my background, even if it was worlds apart from the privilege I would later encounter. Amanda literally bumped into me at a coffee shop downtown. She spilled her latte on my new shirt and insisted on paying for dry cleaning. When I suggested she could make it up to me over dinner, instead, her green eyes lit up with surprise and interest. I was captivated by her quick wit and genuine laugh, never imagining she came from one of the wealthiest families in the state. Our connection felt real and immediate. We both loved hiking remote trails, reading historical fiction, and could talk for hours about everything from astronomy to cooking techniques. Those early days were filled with lazy Sunday mornings, impromptu road trips, and the kind of honest conversations that make you feel truly known. The first warning signs appeared when she took me to meet her family 3 months into our relationship. Walter Bishop, her father, barely shook my hand before launching into an interrogation about my 5-year career goals and investment portfolio. Diana, her mother, kept referring to my teaching job as such important work in a tone that suggested she thought exactly the opposite. Jake, her brother, deliberately excluded me from conversations, switching to inside jokes whenever I tried to engage. Natalie, her sister, was perhaps the worst, with her sugary sweet comments hiding obvious disdain. That is just how they are with everyone. At first, Amanda assured me on the drive home, "They will warm up once they get to know you." But her dismissive tone made me question if she truly understood how uncomfortable the evening had been. Our wedding became a battleground of expectations. Amanda's parents insisted on paying for everything, which quickly translated to controlling everything. My modest family was seated in the back at the reception while their country club friends took center stage. My dad's heartfelt toast was cut short to make time for Walter's 20-minute speech about welcoming me to the family that somehow never actually mentioned my name. The early years of marriage involved a subtle shift in Amanda that I tried to ignore. When around her family, she became a different person, laughing too loudly at her brother's offensive jokes, agreeing with her mother's judgmental comments about our friends, and most painfully beginning to critique me in ways that echoed her father's disapproval. "Could you maybe not mention your cousin's food truck business at dinner?" she would whisper before family gatherings. "Dad thinks small businesses like that are for people without real ambition." Each annual reunion grew more uncomfortable. Last year, Walter cornered me to explain why my decision to stay at the same school district, rather than moving into administration, showed a lack of proper motivation. The Christmas before, Diana commented on how Amanda still managed to look beautiful despite shopping at stores that the rest of us would never consider. I swallowed my pride, each time reminding myself that these people mattered to my wife. I put genuine effort into winning their approval. I worked overtime to earn a modest promotion, learned to play golf, despite hating it, memorized wine pairings to avoid Diana's winces, and listened to Jake's financial advice, though I knew it came from a place of inherited privilege, rather than actual wisdom. None of it was enough. And worse, Amanda's criticism of me grew more frequent, especially when her family was around. "Why did you tell that story?" "No one found it interesting," she would say in the car ride home. Or next time, maybe let Jake finish his thought before jumping in with your opinion. I began dreading family events weeks in advance, yet kept attending out of love for Amanda, clinging to the hope that eventually I would be truly accepted. "The reunion is non-negotiable," Amanda stated firmly 2 weeks before the event. "My parents rented the entire lake compound and everyone is expecting us." I have that professional development workshop that weekend I attempted knowing it was scheduled for the following month. Benson, please. This is important to me, she said, her voice softening into the tone that usually melted my resistance. My cousins from Seattle are coming. I have not seen them in years. The Bishop family lake compound was actually 3 connected luxury homes overlooking a private beach with floor-to-ceiling windows and more bathrooms than bedrooms. As we pulled up in our modest sedan, I counted 4 Teslas, a Porsche, and what appeared to be a brand-new Range Rover in the circular driveway. Amanda immediately brightened her posture, straightening as we approached the massive front door. Amanda, darling Diana, embraced her daughter, while giving me a perfunctory nod. Everyone is out on the terrace. Walter just opened a wonderful bottle of Bordeaux from that vineyard we visited last summer. I carried our bags upstairs to the guest room while Amanda joined her family. By the time I made it to the terrace, she was already deep in conversation with her cousins, her laughter carrying across the space. I filled a plate with appetizers and tried to join a conversation between Jake and 2 men I recognized as Amanda's uncles. The market is absolutely primed for disruption in that sector, Jake was saying. My fund got in early, and we are projecting 60% returns minimum. Sounds impressive, I offered. What industry is the investment in? The 3 men exchanged glances before Jake responded with exaggerated patience. Biotech, specifically gene therapy applications in emerging markets. Not really something easily explained to someone outside the field. I nodded and drifted away, feeling the familiar sting of exclusion. Throughout that first day, I made several genuine attempts to connect, complimenting Diana on her recent charity gala that had been featured in the local paper, asking Walter about his golf game, even trying to engage Natalie's husband in conversation about the basketball playoffs. Each attempt was met with brief, disinterested responses before they turned back to each other. That evening, as everyone gathered for dinner in the main house, I overheard Jake speaking to Natalie in the hallway. "How long do you think this one will last? Dad says he has no spine. Remember how he just nodded along when Dad criticized his school district at Christmas? Amanda could have done so much better," Natalie replied. "Someone from our circle who understands how things work. This guy is just basic." The second day brought mounting tension. Amanda was invited to go shopping with the women but returned irritated when I asked how it went. Fine, until Diana asked when we were planning to move to a better neighborhood. "I wish you would consider that promotion track we talked about." That evening, the entire family gathered for a formal dinner. The conversation flowed around me like I was invisible, until Walter directly addressed me for the first time that weekend. "So Benson, Amanda tells me you were passed over for that curriculum director position. Tough break." His tone suggested it was anything but surprising. The other candidate had more administrative experience, I explained, feeling Amanda stiffen beside me. "But I am happy in the classroom. I make a real difference with my students." Walter shook his head. "Some men just do not have what it takes to succeed. No shame in accepting your limitations." A heavy silence fell over the table. I looked to Amanda, expecting her to defend me, but she was studying her plate. "My students' test scores improved 16% this year," I said quietly. "I would call that success," Jake snorted. "Test scores. Meanwhile, my fraternity brother, Mark, just made partner at his law firm. He is younger than you." "Right. What are you now, 34, and still just a teacher?" "Not everyone measures success by their bank account," I responded, feeling heat rise to my face. Clearly, Diana interjected with a tight smile. "Though it would be nice if Amanda did not have to be the primary breadwinner. In our family, the men typically provide the financial stability. I contribute equally to our household," I said, my voice rising slightly. "We agreed on our arrangement together." "Oh, sweetie," Natalie chimed in. "Equal contribution when she makes twice your salary. That math does not work." Amanda remained silent, and something inside me finally broke. Years of subtle jabs, condescension, and exclusion crystallized into a moment of clarity. "I have listened to all of you judge me for years," I said, pushing back from the table. "You have no idea what success means outside your bubble of privilege. None of you earned what you have. You inherited it, along with your inflated sense of superiority." Walter's face reddened. "How dare you speak to us this way? after everything we have done for you. What exactly have you done except criticize and belittle me? Make me feel unwelcome in my own marriage." Amanda finally spoke, her voice sharp with anger. "Benson, stop it. You are embarrassing me." "I am embarrassing you." I looked at her in disbelief. "Your family has spent 4 years treating me like I am beneath them, and you have never once stood up for me. Because you are being oversensitive," she exclaimed. "They are just concerned about our future." Diana placed a manicured hand on Amanda's shoulder. "We only want what is best for you, darling. We have always felt that you settled. That is enough." I interrupted, standing fully now. "I will not sit here and be insulted by people who have never shown me basic respect." Walter stood as well, pointing toward the door. "I think it is time for you to leave my property. Now." I looked at each family member. Jake's smirk, Natalie's wide eyes, Diana's dismissive headshake, before finally landing on Amanda. "Are you coming?" She looked between me and her father, her expression conflicted. "I think you need to cool off. We will talk later." I walked out alone, the heavy oak door slamming behind me with finality. I sat in our car for nearly an hour before Amanda stormed out, yanking open the passenger door. "How could you speak to my family that way?" she demanded. "After everything they have done for us, what exactly have they done, except judge me since the day we met?" I countered. Her eyes narrowed. "You have 2 choices, beg for forgiveness or get out. I will not apologize for finally standing up for myself." Amanda's expression hardened into something I had never seen before. "Maybe my family was right about you all along." I drove aimlessly for hours before finding a roadside motel 30 miles from the lake compound. The room smelled of industrial cleaner and old cigarettes, but I barely noticed as I sat on the edge of the bed replaying the night in my mind. I sent Amanda 3 texts. "Are you okay? Can we talk? I am staying at Pinecrest Motel if you want to meet." No response came. The next morning I returned to our house in the suburbs, expecting Amanda would be there too. Instead, I found an empty home and a text message. "Staying with family through the weekend. Need space." Our house suddenly felt like a museum of someone else's life. Photos on the walls captured moments of happiness that now seemed staged. Had she ever truly accepted me, or had I been a temporary rebellion against her family that she had grown tired of? 4 days passed before Amanda returned home. She moved through our shared spaces like a ghost, sleeping in the guest room and leaving for work before I woke up. When I tried to discuss what happened, she would reply with one-word answers or simply walk away. On the 6th day after the reunion, I overheard Amanda on the phone in our home office, not realizing I had come home early. "I know, Nat. It has been a complete nightmare," she was saying to her sister. "Dad says I should consult the lawyer first, make sure I am protected financially." A pause. "No, he has no idea. He actually thinks there is still a marriage to save here." Her laugh was cold, unfamiliar. "Trust me, once Dad connects me with his golf buddy at that private equity firm, I will be moving on to someone more suitable." I backed away silently, my chest tight with a pain unlike anything I had experienced before. The betrayal cut deeper than the argument itself. She had already decided our marriage was over and was openly mocking me to her family. The breaking point came 3 days later. While searching for our insurance documents to update my benefits at work, I discovered a folder of emails between Amanda and her ex-boyfriend Thomas. Dozens of messages spanning the past year, filled with emotional intimacy that she, Bichu, had withdrawn from our marriage. "Sometimes I think I made a mistake choosing stability over passion," she had written just 2 months ago. In the same drawer, I found statements for a separate bank account I knew nothing about, with regular transfers dating back 6 months. The balance would cover approximately 3 months of her expenses. She had been planning her exit long before our argument at the reunion. The final blow was a legal pad in her handwriting, apparently notes from a conversation with her father. "Walter says, move money, gradually establish separate credit, document any potential issues with B's behavior. Consult Jennifer, divorce attorney, before saying anything." I sat on our bedroom floor, surrounded by evidence of my failing marriage, and realized the truth: I was alone. I had been alone for much longer than I had allowed myself to see. The next morning, I met with an attorney to understand my rights. I learned that our joint savings, which had largely come from my inheritance when my grandfather passed away, had been reduced by nearly 60% over the past 4 months. Large withdrawals had been made to accounts I had no access to. "This does not look good," my attorney said frankly. "But without a prenup, California is a community property state. You are entitled to half of all marital assets." Over the next week, I quietly secured my remaining personal finances, gathered important documents, and retrieved family heirlooms that had belonged to my parents. I researched job opportunities across the country and found several promising leads for experienced teachers in Portland, Oregon, a city I had always been drawn to for its natural beauty and progressive education system. With a surprising sense of calm, I purchased a one-way ticket for the following Monday. I submitted my resignation to my principal, citing personal reasons, and promising to help transition my students to a substitute until they found a permanent replacement. I reached out to the few friends who had remained close, despite Amanda's gradual isolation of me from my support system. "I need to make a fresh start," I told my oldest friend Michael over coffee. "Too much has happened here." "Are you sure this is the answer?" he asked, concerned. "I am sure that staying is not the answer," I replied. The weekend before my departure, Amanda went to her parents' house for what she described as a strategy session about our situation. While she was gone, I wrote her a detailed letter explaining my decision to leave. "I cannot stay in a marriage where I am not respected or valued," I wrote. "Your family has made it clear I will never be good enough, and you have made it clear their opinion matters more than my dignity. I have chosen to remove myself from this equation entirely." I left my wedding ring on top of the letter along with printed copies of the emails between her and Thomas. On the dining room table, I placed our wedding album and the framed photo from her nightstand, the two of us laughing on a beach in Maui during our honeymoon. Monday morning, I boarded a plane with 2 suitcases containing everything I chose to take from my old life. As Oregon's green landscape came into view hours later, I felt equal measures of terror and liberation. My new apartment in southeast Portland was small but bright, with a view of distant mountains from the tiny balcony. I secured a position teaching 8th grade English at a progressive charter school, taking a pay cut but gaining autonomy I had never experienced in my previous district. In those first weeks, loneliness hit hardest at night. I would wake, reaching for Amanda, only to find empty space beside me. But there was also a surprising sense of peace in being answerable to no one, in making decisions without calculating another person's judgment or disapproval. I purposely maintained no social media presence and changed my phone number, giving the new one only to my parents and Michael, with strict instructions about privacy. I knew Amanda's family had resources and connections. The last thing I needed was them finding me before I had established my new life. 6 months into my time in Portland, signs of real healing began to appear. I had been promoted to lead teacher for the English department after my innovative curriculum caught the attention of the school director. My modest apartment now felt like home, decorated with local art and shelves filled with books I had always wanted to read but never found time for. Most significantly, I had formed genuine friendships with a group of colleagues and neighbors who knew nothing of my past and accepted me without qualification. Maria, a science teacher from my school, introduced me to her hiking group, 5 diverse individuals who shared my love of nature and philosophical conversations around campfires. "You seem more relaxed each time we hike," Maria commented as we reached the summit of Mount Hood one clear Saturday. "When you first joined us, you had this guarded look like you were waiting for something bad to happen." I had started weekly therapy sessions working through the tangled emotions of my failed marriage and the family dynamics that had contributed to its demise. "You spent years trying to win approval from people who had decided in advance you would never measure up," my therapist observed. "The question now is, whose approval are you seeking in your new life?" It was a powerful perspective that helped me recognize how I had surrendered my self-worth to external validation, particularly from Amanda and her family. Through Michael, who remained my connection to my old life, I learned about the aftermath of my departure. Amanda had apparently returned home to find my letter and gone immediately to her parents' house in hysterics. Walter had hired private investigators to locate me, but my careful exit had left few traces. The divorce filing came 3 months after I left, citing abandonment as grounds. "People are talking," Michael told me during one of our monthly phone calls. "Amanda told some friends you had a mental breakdown, but others who saw how her family treated you have been less sympathetic. Her perfect image has definitely taken a hit." I felt no satisfaction in this news, only sadness for the woman I had once loved enough to marry, who remained so entangled in her family's toxic expectations that she had sacrificed authentic connection for approval. By the 1-year mark, my life had transformed in ways I could never have predicted. I had developed a side business creating specialized curriculum materials that was generating additional income. I had gone on several casual dates, learning to be honest about my past while not letting it define my future. Most importantly, I had rediscovered parts of myself that had been submerged during my marriage: my passion for writing, my love of spontaneous adventures, my ability to connect with others without constantly monitoring their reactions. I met Sophia at a teacher conference where I was presenting on experiential learning techniques. Dark-haired and confident with a quick mind and zero pretension, she approached me after my session with thoughtful questions and an invitation to continue the conversation over coffee. Her story had parallels to mine: a marriage to someone from a wealthy family that had slowly eroded her sense of self until she found the courage to leave. The hardest part, she said during our third dinner together, was accepting that I had allowed it to happen, that I had participated in my own diminishment. It was precisely what I had been working to acknowledge in myself. Our shared understanding created a foundation of honesty that was both terrifying and exhilarating. One unexpected Tuesday, an email appeared in my work account that stopped my breath. The subject line read, "Please read, Amanda." The message was brief: "I have been trying to find you for months. We need to talk. I made a terrible mistake. Please call me." Her phone number followed. That night I sat on my balcony, staring at the stars, contemplating my response. Part of me, a smaller part than I expected, wanted to know what she would say. Had she finally recognized the toxic patterns in her family? Had she found her own strength? After careful consideration and a conversation with my therapist, I sent a single reply: "I have moved forward with my life and encourage you to do the same. I wish you healing and happiness in whatever form that takes. I will be signing the divorce papers this week." It was the final closure I needed, setting a boundary not out of anger but from a place of hard-won self-respect. The divorce was finalized through attorneys with no direct contact between us. I donated our wedding photos and mementos to a local art student who was creating an installation about transience and transformation. Watching a stranger carefully disassemble the physical artifacts of my marriage for repurposing felt strangely appropriate. 2 years after leaving California, I barely recognized the man who had once desperately sought approval from the Bishop family. Sophia and I had moved in together, creating a home filled with laughter, honest communication, and mutual support. My curriculum development business had grown enough that I could reduce my teaching to part-time, allowing me to pursue a master's degree in education policy. I had rebuilt my relationship with my parents, who visited Portland frequently, and had formed a genuine bond with Sophia. My circle of friends provided the kind of community I had always longed for: people who celebrated each other's successes and showed up during struggles without keeping score. The most profound change was internal. I no longer measured my worth through others' assessments. I had learned that walking away from toxic relationships, even when society frames it as giving up, often requires more courage than staying. I had discovered that starting over, while terrifying, can be the greatest gift you give yourself. The pain that once felt unbearable had transformed into wisdom I would not trade away. The betrayal that broke my heart had ultimately freed me to build a life aligned with my true values. In losing what I thought I wanted, I had found what I actually needed. Looking back now, I can see that fateful family reunion as the breaking point that needed to happen. The argument that seemed to destroy my world actually saved me from years more of slow erosion of my self-worth. Sometimes the most painful moments in our lives are actually doorways to transformation. The journey from that lake house to where I stand today taught me lessons I carry in every aspect of my life: that love which demands the surrender of your identity is not love at all. That family can be chosen, not just inherited. That respect must be reciprocal to be meaningful. And perhaps most importantly, that walking away from people who cannot see your value is an act of self-preservation, not failure. 3 years after my departure, Sophia and I started our own educational consulting firm, helping schools implement inclusive teaching practices. The work feels meaningful in a way my previous career never did, perhaps because I now bring my whole self to it without apology or diminishment. Last month, I received a letter forwarded through my attorney. Amanda had remarried to someone her family apparently approved of completely. She wrote that she had spent time in therapy herself, beginning to understand the patterns she had been raised with and how they had damaged her ability to form authentic connections. "I do not expect forgiveness," she wrote, "but I wanted you to know that your leaving forced me to face truths I had been avoiding. I am sorry for my part in your pain. I wished her well in my heart without feeling any need to respond." Our chapter had closed long ago, and we had both found different paths forward. To anyone watching this who finds themselves constantly trying to prove their worth to people who have already decided not to see it, whether family partners or friends, I want you to know something important. You are not trapped. The door may seem invisible, but it exists. Walking through it is terrifying, but what waits on the other side is the chance to become the person you were always meant to be, surrounded by people who celebrate rather than tolerate you. The Bishop family taught me a painful but valuable lesson: conditional. Love is not love at all. It is a transaction, and the price is too high. I would love to hear in the comments if any of you have had to make the difficult choice to walk away from a relationship or family situation that was diminishing you. What gave you the courage to leave? And what did you discover about yourself once you did? Please hit that like button if this story resonated with you. Subscribe for more real-life journeys, and share this video with someone who might need to hear that sometimes leaving is the strongest choice they can make. Thank you for listening, and remember, your worth is not determined by those who fail to see it.